Hello everyone, it is Erin Flutter here, and I am here setting up, finally, for 2022 in my normal bullet journal. So I've had a couple 2022 videos so far, my traveler's notebook and my wellness log, but this is my main squeeze. This is my B5 Blackout notebook by Archer and Olive, and I am setting up 2022 in this notebook. I'm using some Sakura jelly rolls, and I basically use the same type of pattern from some of the stencils that I have in my shop to create this zebra look. So basically, I think my theme basically for 2022 is like rainbow animal print. I think that's kind of what I went with. So this is just my main cover page. I love having a cover page for like annual spreads because it's like the first thing you look at when you are setting up a notebook, and it kind of takes away the intimidation from getting started. And I know a lot of people watching this video are probably new to bullet journaling, so I just want to kind of talk about bullet journaling in general and about art in your bullet journal, about setting up your bullet journal and things like that. So one of the things I wanted to talk about in that respect is don't be afraid to put pen to paper. That is one of the hardest things to do in any new notebook, I would say, is especially if you're a beginner, is you've seen a lot of things online, you really want to get started, but it's very intimidating the first time you are putting pen to paper. One of the things that I would suggest, if that is the case for you, is start in the back of your notebook with something like a pen swatch page. It is something that is meant to be a little bit messy. It is not meant to be perfect. It's meant to swatch your pens and see how your pens look in that notebook. And particularly if you are using a Blackout or a craft notebook, that can help you in multiple ways, in putting pen to paper and then also seeing how those pens look in a notebook with a different color paper, aka not white paper. So if you are getting started in one of those Neapolitans or Blackouts or craft notebooks, it is always a good idea to start with a pen swatch page. Another thing, if you are very intimidated by starting, is pencil in first. That's what I do. A lot of times I can't concentrate on just being artistic because of filming. So that's why I do a lot of pencil sketch-ins first. So I would highly, highly recommend doing that if you're a little bit nervous, you're a little bit of a perfectionist, you want to get things right. Definitely pencil first has helped me when it comes to that, especially because when I'm filming these notebook setups, I have to position myself in a way away from paper. And normally I like to put my head right over a notebook when I'm working on it. So when I'm filming, I obviously can't do that. Otherwise, you guys can't see the spreads. So penciling in helps me see the pencil lines. And you can see here that I use the pencil lines kind of as a loose guide, and then I go back in and I erase the pencil marks. So you can see that I didn't follow all of them, which is totally fine by me. I don't really care that much. And then after I finish up with my setup, I also go back in later and make minor adjustments. This page, for example, I thickened up all of the colored lines so that everything popped just a little bit more and became a little bit more vibrant on this Blackout page. That is something that I need to lean over my notebook for. So that's what I did off camera. And to me, I mean, you can kind of see my head poking in a little bit at the end there. But I just need to be able to see, and it's kind of hard sometimes when you're filming. So this is my 2022 setup, and I really love these jelly rolls on the Blackout paper. It is something that I do love so, so much. The next spread I'm working on is my word of the year and my at a glance. I'm foregoing a future log this year. I'm gonna try something up a little bit different with my future log, but my word of the year is going to be embrace. And I want to use the term embrace because I think that for me, when I'm talking embrace, I'm thinking multiple things. I'm thinking embracing change, embracing loved ones, embracing a new future, embracing. So it's amazing. For me, the term embrace is basically like I'm welcoming things into my life. I am taking what is being handed to me and I am embracing it and I am living it to its full. So that's the term that I decided to use for my word of the year. I haven't really used like a word of the year so much in the past, but this year I really wanted to incorporate that into my bullet journal. So I put it across from this year at a glance. And I left a box in there so that I can put things like embracing change and things like that, because I want to keep in mind what I mean by embrace. So as you can see, I am putting together a little cheetah type print. This felt very Lisa Frank to me. If you are a 90s kid, you know what I'm talking about, because I did the rainbow effect going down instead of each item being a different color. I decided to do kind of this ombre effect. It felt very, very Lisa Frank to me. My inner 90s kid is very, very happy seeing this page, and it continued multiple themes, the rainbow theme and the animal print theme. So I was definitely living for it here. And then on the next page, I used my future log calendar outline stencil. I can't remember what I actually called it in my shop, to put together this outline for this at a glance. And I'm just going to go in, like with everything else, and add some white so that all of my boxes really pop. And I'm going to go back in at some point, we'll see when, and put in the numbers, and then I'll start color coding. And I left some room there at the top so that I can put together some sort of key for birthdays, holidays, things like that. That way I'm just putting like a little dot or making that number that color. Yeah, that's how keys work. Making that number that color. I haven't quite figured out how I want to do that yet, so I kind of left it to itself. Plus I have a lot of like looking up to do on when the holidays are, when the birthdays are, all that kind of stuff. So another tip for those who are new to bullet journaling is sit down before you start filling out your spreads and don't put in everything in the kitchen sink. So you'll see a lot of blogs this time of year giving you ideas for different types of collections that you can add to your bullet journal. Maybe those are in addition to the classic bullet journal spreads. Maybe the bullet journal spreads in its classic form isn't what you need. For example, I am not using a future log. That is one of the staples in a bullet journal from the bullet journaling system, but maybe that's not your vibe this year. So what I did is I really stopped to think about, what do I need to get out of my notebook this year? One of the things that I felt like I needed is that word of the year. It's something that I haven't added to a notebook before, but it is something that I added this year. I am using an at a glance, which I do use every year, but I did not do a future log because I wanted to try something different with my future log. So really sit down and think about, okay, do I need this? Is this going to help me use my bullet journal? Is this going to help me in my everyday life? And not only that, is this going to combined with everything else that I'm doing in my bullet journal, make me overwhelmed. A lot of people, when they start doing bullet journaling, get overwhelmed because they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at their bullet journal without thinking what they want to get out of it. So for me, I decided on 3 different spreads that I thought would enhance my bullet journal for this year. And that's not counting what I change month to month. This is just for my annual spreads. I decided to add 3 in addition to these 2 pages. So I decided to put in a 2022 accomplishments, a 2022 memories, and a home improvement list with spaces for project, budget, cost, and timeline. So those are the 3 things that I plan to use as annual spreads. So this is something that I can reference while I'm doing my everyday work, my monthly work in my bullet journal, where I can look at something that I've done during the month and I'm like, you know what, this was a really big accomplishment for me. I'm going to go ahead and add it to that. Because what I want from my annual spreads is to be able to look back, and for me, for 6 months, because my bullet journal typically only lasts for 6 months. I want to look at my 6 months and see what has happened to me and what good things are going on, what bad things are going on, how I am feeling as a person, all of that kind of stuff, and really do things to continue to lift me up. So that's why I wanted to track accomplishments and memories. So some of those memories may not be good. I mean, fingers crossed, I hope most of them are. But a lot of my memories will shape me into who I am as a person as well. So that's one of the things that I just wanted to take a little bit of time on to reflect over the year. So I know a lot of people do things like movies to watch and TV show collections and like all this kind of stuff at the beginning of their notebook. Sometimes, and I know for me particularly, I don't turn back to these pages a lot. It's a once in a while type of flip back to these pages. So I decided to incorporate spreads that I know are only look back once in a while type of spreads. So I didn't add anything like an annual mood tracker or a year in pixels or things like that because I know I won't use them. I'm bad at it. I know this about me. Maybe if you're new to bullet journaling, you definitely want to try those things to see if it works for you. I know myself. I've been bullet journaling for a lot of years now, so I know what works and what doesn't for me. I think this is my 7th year, seventh year bullet journaling in this type of system. So, and like the quote unquote bullet journal system as we know it today, I did do things like this back in high school and back in college as well. So basically, I just know myself really well in this system. So what I do want is for people to not feel overwhelmed, which is why I'm saying kind of roll it back. So, and I've said this before during the monthly spreads, don't do 300 different habits that you want to track. Maybe start with 5. And once you get those 5 down, move on to a new 5 or add 5 onto that, something like that, because I've just seen a very clear trend that when people add too much, they either roll back or stop using their bullet journal entirely. And I know that I really like this system, so I want people to have a shot at falling in love with this system like I have. So that is one of my recommendations to you. So as I mentioned, my last spread that I have right now, I've kept another page just in case I come up with something that I want and need in my bullet journal. I couldn't come up with anything else while I was thinking about it, so I left this other page blank. If I don't come up with something, maybe that will be my January cover page. I'm not quite sure yet, even though I really need to set up January. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So this is my home improvements tracker. So as you all know, I bought a house in October. I posted about it here on the channel. And there's some things, I mean, the house is done, but there's some things that I want to do personally. And there's some like big ticket projects. There's some small things that I want to do to make this house for me. So I have a section for project, timeline, budget, and cost. Now, do I need this amount of space? No, probably not. But some of the bigger projects, I may want to kind of nail down into smaller projects. So I kind of want to have a space for what the big project is and then narrow it down from there and break it down into smaller projects. So I may end up using probably about 3/4 of this just from the way I am envisioning using this page. But basically, I sat down. There's some things that need to get done immediately because it came up on my inspection, things like that. But there's some things that, are things that I want to add to the house at some point. Like maybe another bedroom, maybe another bathroom, things like that. So those are obviously going to be very not time sensitive like the other projects. Those are going to be cost sensitive. So I just want to like kind of get some quotes and things like that and start thinking about some of those bigger projects that I want to get done as well. So that is basically all of my 2022 setup. I know that this is a quick one. Like I said, I know myself in this bullet journaling system, and the way I've done it in the past with annual spreads is I just haven't used them. It's just, these aren't pages that I go back to a whole ton unless I'm like really kind of thinking about it. So for me, I just know myself and I know it doesn't work. So I want to do things that are, when I do remember these pages, I can go back and look. Or when I'm thinking about home improvements, then I know where this page is. So that is kind of my nuts and bolts. For those of you who are maybe new to this system, one of the other things I might recommend is putting your annual pages in the back of your notebook. Now that seems weird, and I get that, but if you put them in the back of your notebook and you decide, yes, I can handle more, you can add to it versus having spreads throughout your notebook in between months or things like that. So I a lot of times like to put my collections in the back of my notebook because then it seems like a cohesive group of pages and I'm not scattered about my notebook once I figure out what I need to do. So anyways, here is my 2022 setup. You can see that the lines pop just a little bit more because I've went in and basically added another layer to them. And that is my setup. And I hope you all enjoy this particular setup. And thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate you. And if you are new to this community, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell and all that kind of jazz. And I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.